babes. Welcome back. We love you. We see you. And we are just so incredibly glad to have you here tonight. But listen to me carefully. Before we even get into Below Deck Down Under today, before we even touch the absolute radiating toxicity of this week's yacht mess, we need to talk about something that has absolutely rocked us. I mean, rocked us to our core.
Oh, it genuinely altered our brain chemistry before we even turned the microphones on. Like, I am still sweating.
Yeah.
So grab your drink and get comfortable, because today we are dissecting the mechanics of unchecked delusion, starting with a staggering financial collapse.
Because, babes, you know us. We've got our wine. We've got our whole setup. And usually Mondays, we spiral. We come in here, we sit down, we complain about our weekends, and we spiral. But tonight, oh my God, we spiraled before we even hit record.
We were literally screaming in the studio.
Screaming. Okay, so listen to this. A Canadian man, shout out to BC, by the way, turned roughly $90,000 into $400 million. And then he lost it all.
Let that sit for a second. Let the reality of that number just wash over you. $415 million. We are sitting here staring at each other in sheer disbelief because the facts of this situation are so staggering, it almost feels like, it cannot be real life.
Babes, the horror, the literal horror of it. How does that even happen? What decisions are being made in a human brain to allow that to occur? At what point do you stop? I am genuinely fully panicking over this. Like, make it make sense.
Okay, let me lay out exactly how this happened, because the mechanics of this failure are just a masterclass in human hubris. So this was a carpenter, a regular guy from Souk, British Columbia. In 2019, he had an $88,000 portfolio. It was mostly Tesla stock and derivatives.
Right.
Now, to understand how he got to $415 million by November of 2021, you really have to understand options trading and margin accounts. He wasn't just buying a share of stock and waiting for it to go up a few bucks. He was using a highly leveraged options trading strategy.
Which is basically placing a massive, highly specific bet, right? Like gambling.
It's exactly like gambling. It's leverage. You can control a massive amount of stock for a fraction of the actual price. But if you're wrong, your losses are exponential. Now, add margin to that. A margin account is basically financial gasoline. It means you are borrowing money from your broker, in this case RBC, to buy more investments, using your existing portfolio as collateral.
Wait. So you are taking out loans against the money you haven't even technically secured yet to buy more imaginary bets on a stock?
Yes,
Okay.
exactly that. And for a while, it worked flawlessly, because Tesla stock was on this unprecedented historic bull run during the pandemic. Around August 2020, his account was sitting at about $50 million.
$50 million.
Right. And he reached out to his bank because he wanted to use a margin loan against his stock to get out of his rental apartment and just buy a house. So they set him up with a financial manager, gave him a margin account so he could keep borrowing to make trades, and connected him with a tax specialist firm.
Okay, stop. Stop right there. $50 million. That is the moment. That is the moment you stop. You take the $50 million, you buy a private island, you buy a beautiful estate in BC, you put the rest in a diversified portfolio of index funds, and you never, ever look at a stock ticker for the rest of your natural life. Why didn't he stop?
Because of the dopamine loop, right? When your highly leveraged strategy works, you feel like a genius. Your ego inflates. You think you've cracked the code to infinite wealth. It becomes this ego-driven high. He didn't stop. He rode it all the way up to $415 million.
I feel sick. I literally feel nauseous.
And then Tesla stock tanked. And here is where the mechanics of a margin call just destroy you.
Yeah.
Because he was trading on margin. When the value of his collateral, the Tesla stock, dropped, the bank issued a margin call.
Meaning they are calling him up and saying, hey, your collateral isn't worth enough to cover your massive loans anymore. Give us cash.
Yes. And if you don't have the cash to deposit immediately, the broker has the right to forcefully liquidate your assets to cover the debt. They sell your stocks out from under you at the absolute bottom of the market. He lost all of it, every single penny. He was entirely wiped out, back to zero.
Oh my God. I cannot. I am physically unwell. How do you sleep at night knowing you had $400 million and now you have nothing? You lost generations of wealth. Your great-great-grandchildren could have been flying private, and now you are back to square one.
Well, he isn't just sleeping poorly. He is currently suing RBC and the tax firm. He's claiming they gave him inadequate advice and treated him like a sophisticated investor when he wasn't. He's arguing they should have stopped him.
Oh, come on.
But RBC filed a response in the BC Supreme Court, and their defense is incredibly telling. They're basically saying, we repeatedly told you to de-risk. We told you to diversify. You had numerous opportunities to not do this, and you were committed to an all-or-nothing leverage strategy.
I am interrupting you right there. I don't care about the bank's advice. You are a carpenter. You won the lottery. You beat the system. Walk away from the table. Wait, is it actually the bank's fault, or are we just underestimating the sheer arrogance of a guy who thought he was smarter than Wall Street?
It is the delusion of unchecked momentum. RBC is essentially arguing that he knew exactly what he was doing. They say he was already experienced with options and margin trading before he even transferred his account to them. At a certain point, greed just overtakes logic. You hit 50 million, you want 100. You hit 100, you want 400.
You stop seeing it as real money and start seeing it as a high score in a video game.
Exactly. It's detached from reality.
Babes, you know me. You know me too well. I once had a literal tearful meltdown in a Target parking lot over losing a $20 bill. Like actual tears streaming down my face because I thought I dropped it near the carts. So we could not survive. Put me in the ground. It is over for me.
Oh, you did. You made me retrace your steps through the entire store for Jackson. If you lost $400 million, you would just dissolve into the atmosphere. You would cease to exist on a molecular level.
I would spontaneously combust. Oh my God. We need to lighten the mood. I am vibrating with financial anxiety. Let's talk about our current state of affairs because on deck tonight, we have peach bellinis. Again.
Yes, we are double fisting this week.
Babes, we had them last night while recording, and they were so good we had to bring them back. We are utterly obsessed.
They are dangerously good. The problem with a sweet cocktail, especially a peach bellini, is the deception of it. The Prosecco and the thick, sugary peach puree just mask the alcohol completely. You think you're drinking a morning smoothie?
You feel like you're hydrating.
Right. The texture is velvety, the acidity of the wine cuts through the sweetness, and your brain entirely misses the signal that you are consuming a high volume of alcohol.
They go down so fast. You take 3 sips, and suddenly the glass is empty, you're pouring another, and you are speaking at double speed and making terrible financial judgments in your head. They sneak up on you. I'm already feeling it.
It's the sugar. The sugar accelerates the absorption of the alcohol into your bloodstream. But, it pairs perfectly with what we just ate, which we absolutely have to talk about before we get to the boat.
Oh my God, yes. Because, babes, we just had the most insane dinner. From a food truck right near the studio, Jamaican patties. We need a moment of silence.
Truly a culinary masterpiece.
The flavor, the spice, the flakiness of that crust. Babes, truck food just hits different. It just does. I am spiraling over how good this was. Why is that? Why does something handed to me through a tiny metal window taste vastly superior to a sit-down meal?
I mean, there is a specific science and sociology to it. When food is cooked in a space the size of a walk-in closet, by someone who has dedicated their entire life to perfecting one specific hyper-focused menu item, the quality control is unparalleled.
Oh, true.
A restaurant has 50 items to manage. A food truck has 3. Plus, you are eating it fresh out of the fryer or off the flat top. The time from heat source to consumption is mere seconds.
Standing outside on the sidewalk, the wind is blowing, you're holding this incredibly hot pastry wrapped in a little paper sleeve. The grease is threatening to ruin your outfit. It's the chaos of it. The chaos makes it taste better.
It's the element of danger. Will I burn the roof of my mouth? Will I drop glowing orange grease onto my shoes? Yes, and yes. But the Jamaican patty, the way the rich, savory, heavily spiced beef filling contrasts with that perfectly yellow, turmeric-laced, intensely flaky crust. The textural contrast is untouchable.
Because now we need to know. If you are listening to us right now, we need to know your answer to this. If you're walking out of a bar at 1 a.m. or you're wandering around a street fair, you know the exact food truck you're looking for. What is your go-to order?
Because I have a very specific, highly opinionated rant about this.
Oh, I know you do. Let's hear it.
The most underrated late-night food truck pick in existence is a massive, fully loaded Korean corn dog. Not the regular American state fair ones.
Okay.
The ones encrusted with diced french fries, deep fried until dangerously crispy, and then rolled in granulated sugar with a heavy drizzle of spicy mayo and ketchup. Everyone goes for tacos, which I respect. A good al pastor taco carved right off the trompo is elite, but the structural integrity of a taco at 2 a.m. when your fine motor skills are compromised.
Disaster.
Exactly. The tortilla rips, the salsa gets on your shirt. A Korean corn dog is food anchored to a stick. It is ergonomically designed for late-night intoxicated survival.
Okay, valid. That is an incredibly valid argument. But honestly, for me, it's not even just about the specific food. It's the chaos of eating in the car. It's a lifestyle. dropping the sauce, napkins flying everywhere. You're trying to use the steering wheel as a makeshift dining table.
You're balancing the fries on the console.
Yes. You're contorting your body so the crumbs don't fall between the seats. You find a rogue fry under your passenger seat 3 weeks later, and you feel a profound wave of nostalgia.
I love it. The car just becomes a private dining room of shame and delight.
Exactly. But babes, we're sitting here, tipsy on Bellinis, full of Jamaican street food, and deeply emotionally affected by a man losing $400 million.
We are in a highly fragile state.
And somehow, we still have a yacht full of chaos to get through. We are financially triggered, slightly tipsy, and absolutely ready to get into this mess.
That inability to calculate risk, that delusion that you can push and push without consequences, isn't just financial. You see the exact same unchecked leverage in how these crew members approach their jobs and their relationships. We're transitioning from a man who thought a single stock would go up infinitely forever to a super yacht crew entirely divorced from reality. Delusion is the undisputed star of Below Deck Down Under Season 4, Episode 14.
I am dying to talk about this. We need to do a meticulous frame-by-frame breakdown because my Southern drama tolerance is high, but this episode tested me. Let's start in the galley. We have to talk about Ben's 45-year-old pity party. Settle in because the psychology of Chef Ben this week is something that genuinely demands clinical evaluation.
It really does. Let's set the scene for anyone who needs the refresher. Daisy, operating as the Chief Stew, pulls Ben aside. She is trying to be a manager. She tells Ben, completely reasonably and professionally, that she needs to demand excellence in the galley. The food has been slow, the communication has been poor, and it is her literal job to ensure the interior and the galley are functioning seamlessly for the guests.
It is her job. And Ben instantly, reflexively plays the victim. He doesn't say, oh, you're right, I'll speed it up. He starts whining that they are building a unison against him. A unison.
Which is such a bizarre, grammatically panicked phrase. He means forming a union or acting in unison. But his brain is so scattered by his own aggressive defensiveness that he's just throwing syllables at the wall. Daisy literally says to him, I can call you out and still want the best for you? That is textbook, high-level management. It's separating the personal from the professional. But Ben cannot compute that.
I need to read Ben's literal quote from his confessional to everyone listening because I wrote it down in my notes and stared at it for 10 minutes. Quote, I've basically been betrayed by effing every person in my effing life. All my friends, all my girlfriends, my ex-fiancé. I think I attract people that betray me. End quote.
It is staggering.
I am screaming. I am exhausted. The sheer exhaustion of dealing with a 45-year-old man who acts like a dumped, moody teenager. Are you kidding me, Ben? You attract people who betray you.
Ben is the culinary equivalent of the guy on a first date who leans across the table and tells you, all my exes are crazy. It's the ultimate psychological red flag. If everyone in your life is betraying you, if every single friend, girlfriend, and fiancé has turned against you, maybe, just maybe, you are the common denominator. Maybe you're the traitor to your own peace.
Yes. If you smell dog crap everywhere you go, check your own shoe.
Exactly. It is a staggering lack of self-awareness. What he's doing is classic covert narcissism. He deflects any professional critique and turns it into a grand narrative of his own personal victimization. He wants to force Daisy into a position where she has to comfort him rather than hold him accountable.
Which makes Daisy's response everything. She didn't fall for the trap. She literally looks at this grown man throwing a tantrum and says, well, then shut it. You effing shut it.
It was so deeply satisfying to watch.
Praise Daisy. How satisfying is it to watch a manager finally refuse to baby a toxic ego? She didn't coddle him. She didn't soften her voice and say, oh, Ben, I'm so sorry everyone betrayed you. Let's talk about your feelings. She told him to shut up. We love to see it.
It's entirely necessary in that environment, because otherwise a personality like Men's sucks all the oxygen out of the room. He wants everyone to stop working and tend to his emotional wounds. But let's look at the maritime reality. You are on a multi-million-dollar super yacht. The guests are paying hundreds of thousands of dollars. You cannot afford to manage the chef's childhood trauma during a 5-course dinner service. You just need the scallops fired.
But Ben's delusion is actually mild compared to the absolute nightmare that happens next. We have to talk about the exorcism of Mike the Menace. Oh my God, the absolute crime of Mike. We have to break down his complete and utter refusal to read the room. Let's talk about the HOD bit.
The head of department bit. For anyone who somehow missed this agonizing, physically painful sequence, Mike has decided that it's hilarious to declare himself the head of department. He demands that Ben take a Sharpie and write HOD on his forehead.
literally says to Ben, "What are you getting tattooed on your forehead there, bud?" And Mike says, "Head of department, mate." And Jenna is visibly upset by this. She is not laughing. She is exhausted. Eddie, who has his own massive red flags, which we will absolutely get to, steps in to defend her and says, "It's not funny." And Mike's response, he just smirks and says, "It is funny." He doubles down. He parades around the bar yelling, "Mike, the new head of department."
I want to dissect Mike's strategy here because it is fascinating the worst way possible. He sees that Jenna is genuinely upset, and instead of backing off, which is what any normal, empathetic human being would do, he leans in. He tells Eddie, "I'm going to wind her up, obviously." There's a very prominent Reddit theory going around, and I think it holds a lot of weight when you look at the evidence.
Wait, is it actually a producer plant, or are we just underestimating the sheer arrogance of amateur yachties trying to show off? Like, it seems risky for a captain to tolerate a plant on a working vessel.
It's a fair pushback, but look at the mechanics of reality TV casting. The theory is that Mike is someone who desperately wanted reality TV fame, thought the best way to get screen time was to be the funny instigator, but completely failed the assignment. He didn't realize that the backbone of Below Deck is that you actually have to execute maritime duties. You can't just be a Bravo housewife throwing a glass of wine at a dinner party. You have to clean the teak, you have to manage lines, you have to follow the chain of command.
Yes, the Reddit snark is so real, and they are so right. Someone commented, "Goodbye, Mike. Please production learn that people who are just desperate to be on TV don't work on Below Deck." It muddies the waters when you bring in these weirdos who just want a blue check mark on Instagram. We want to see actual yachties melting down over actual yachting problems.
Exactly, because his actions don't even make logical sense for a deckhand. Later in the episode, he pulls Alicia aside and tells her, "Jenna said she would be a better second stew than you." He's totally fabricating drama out of thin air just to ruin Jenna's night. Alicia, who has a great head on her shoulders, literally says, "F off, I never said that." He is operating purely to create chaos for the cameras, not for the boat. He's treating the super yacht like the Big Brother house.
And it all leads to the confrontation. My blood pressure spiked during this. Jenna finally reaches her limit. She tells Daisy, "I can't work with Mike anymore." So Daisy, being a real manager, goes to find him. She asks him point blank, "What did I say about winding people up?" And Mike, lying directly to her face with a smirk, says, "I haven't said anything." Daisy is not having it. She drops the hammer and says, "Okay, you're working until 9 p.m. tonight."
And his audacious, unbelievable response, he looks at his Chief Stew, his head of department, a real HOD, by the way, and says, "We'll see about that. I'm not working until 9 p.m.
I cheered. I was off my couch, spilling my wine, screaming when Daisy snapped. She turns right back around, doesn't miss a beat, and says, "Excuse me, what did you just say to me?" "Okay, you can get off the boat. Get off the boat." "Yes, Daisy."
It is corporate suicide. You do not look your manager in the eye and say, "We'll see about that," when given a direct order. But it's even deeper than that on a yacht. Maritime law and super yacht hierarchies are incredibly rigid for a reason. You are isolated at sea. If an emergency happens, a fire, a man overboard the chain of command is the only thing keeping people alive. Insubordination isn't just rude on a boat, it is fundamentally dangerous.
Exactly. You can't have a guy who thinks everything is a joke handling the mooring lines.
She did not hesitate. And what's crucial here is the management structure functioning perfectly. Captain Jason backed her up without question. Daisy goes to the bridge, explains the situation, and Jason radios João to go get Mike. Jason brings Mike into the wheelhouse and delivers an absolute masterclass in how to fire someone.
Yeah.
He doesn't yell. He doesn't argue. He tells him, "There's a toxicity on board and you're at the source. You think it's a bit of a joke. I won't tolerate it. I need you to leave the boat today."
But the aftermath. Mike's delusional exit interview. He apologizes to Daisy and Alicia, packing his little bags, but then he literally sits in front of the camera and says, "Personally, I don't think I did anything wrong."
I have to ask you this because this is a psychological phenomenon I need your take on.
Right.
Is there anything worse on this planet than a man whose primary defense mechanism is saying, "It's just a joke," when literally no one in the room is laughing?
No, there's absolutely nothing worse. "It's just a joke," is the mating call of the toxic male instigator. If no one is laughing, it's not a joke, it's harassment, it's bullying.
Yeah.
You are intentionally making people uncomfortable, pushing their boundaries, and then gaslighting them for feeling uncomfortable. You are making them the problem for not having a sense of humor about your cruelty. It is enraging.
It is a complete refusal to take accountability. If the audience isn't laughing, the comedian failed. Period. You don't get to blame the audience. Oh, and before we move on from Mike, we have to drop the absolute hottest tea from Instagram.
Spill it. Please.
Guess who Mike is currently posting pictures with on IG?
Do not tell me. Do not ruin my night further.
I am going to. Joe Bradley from Below Deck Med. He posted a photo of the two of them with the caption, "Wish us luck on our first day of work tomorrow together," complete with little yacht emojis.
Stop. Are you kidding me?
I'm not kidding. The Reddit snarkers immediately crowned them, and I quote, "an iconic duo of balding sleazebags."
That is poetry. That is the most accurate description I have ever heard in my entire life. I would rather fling myself overboard into shark-infested waters than work on a boat with those two.
It's a nightmare blunt rotation.
Hey, truly. Okay, we have to keep moving because the delusion does not stop with the boys. We have to talk about the hot tub delusion and Ellie's absolute spiral. This was cinematic. This was like a psychological thriller on Bravo.
The paranoia was palpable. Let's describe the scene where Ben and Ellie are lurking at the crew mess security cameras.
They're literally sitting in the dark, hunched over these glowing monitors like Bond villains in a secret lair. They are obsessively watching the grainy security feed of Jenna and João in the hot tub.
And the reality versus the fiction here is wild. Because what was actually happening in that hot tub?
What was actually happening is that Jenna and João were sitting in the water, fully apart, miles of space between them. And João was telling Jenna that he likes Daisy. They were talking about Daisy and Ben. It was a completely platonic, almost boring debrief. They didn't even move toward each other.
But what did Ellie claim happened?
Ellie runs out of the crew mess, breathless, and starts telling Alicia that Jenna and João were all over each other. She completely fabricates a physical reality. She convinces herself and Ben that they are witnessing some sordid, scandalous betrayal. Let's tear apart Ellie's behavior because this is deep-level, insidious toxicity.
It is textbook psychological projection. Ellie is furious because João rejected her. He wasn't interested. So what does she do? She goes into her confessional and angrily calls João a trash can. But she is completely, undeniably obsessed with him. She cannot stop tracking his movements. She cannot stop talking about him. And because she feels deeply humiliated by his rejection, she projects that humiliation onto Jenna.
Yes. She makes Jenna the villain so she doesn't have to face her own embarrassment.
Exactly. She tells Alicia, completely falsely, "Don't trust Jenna. She keeps coming to our cabin and talking crap about you to Daisy." She is actively trying to turn the entire interior department against Jenna out of sheer petty jealousy over a man who explicitly told her he likes her boss. It is a campaign of misinformation.
Ellie is the ultimate covert villain of the season. I am declaring it right now because she plays this insidious game where she pretends she doesn't care. She walks around acting so aloof. Oh, I'm fine. I don't care about João. João's a snake. I'm over it. Babes, pretending you don't care is loudly broadcasting exactly how much you care. Everyone with eyes can see you are vibrating with humiliation.
It's the, "oh, I'm so unbothered" performance. It requires so much caloric energy to maintain that it proves you are highly bothered. One commenter on Reddit analyzed it perfectly. They said, "Hilarious that Ellie thinks she's being so cool about João when everyone can see how obsessed and humiliated she is. If she just shut up about him, people might believe she has moved on, but she can't."
She can't. She is her own worst enemy. And all of this gossip, all of this lurking in the dark, it has massive consequences for the boat. Which brings us to the room swaps, Shrimpgate, and our unproblematic queen.
Daisy, to her immense credit, executes a brilliant managerial move here. She senses the rot in the interior department. She hears about the whispers. She feels the tension. And she decides to structurally isolate the toxic elements.
She changes all the room assignments. Daisy decides she's moving into João's room. And we have to clarify this because the Bravo universe will talk. She specifically says she stayed in his room, but it was strictly for snoring and cuddling. Nothing physical happened.
Which is very wholesome. Then she banishes Ellie to room with the new Stew, who the internet strongly suspects is Barbie. And she puts Eddie in a bunk with Ben. She completely breaks up the toxic alliances. Ellie, of course, wrongly suspects Daisy is doing this just to get a rise out of her because Ellie thinks the sun revolves entirely around Ellie.
But the escalation, we have to talk about Shrimpgate. This made me gasp out loud.
The sheer, unmitigated disrespect of this moment. Let's set it up. They're in the middle of a dinner service. A group of very chill physicians just boarded the yacht. Daisy is in the galley, actively helping Ben plate the food to ensure it goes out hot. And Ellie walks up, reaches out, and literally grabs a shrimp out of Chief Stew Daisy's hand during service.
I gasped. You do not touch the Chief Stew's food. You do not reach into her hand. That is a physical violation of your manager's space while she is working.
It is insubordination disguised as helping. It's a dominance play. Ellie is trying to assert control in the galley, and Daisy knows exactly what she is doing. It's passive-aggressive warfare.
And the verdict is in. Daisy mutters in the stairwell to Alicia, "She keeps this crap up. I'm telling you, she will be effing fired next." Do you think Ellie will actually get the boot?
I think Captain Jason's trigger finger is very itchy after dealing with Mike. If Daisy goes to Jason and says Ellie is causing mutiny in the interior and physically interfering with service, Ellie is gone. You cannot grab food out of a manager's hand. It disrupts the entire flow of the galley.
I would live for it. I want to see her pack her bags. But amid all this darkness, all this toxicity, we have to give a massive standing ovation to the absolute foil of this entire episode, Betul.
The unproblematic queen of the high seas.
She completely missed Mike getting fired. She missed the yelling, she missed the HOD drama, she missed the room swaps, she missed everything because, quote, she was just working.
Head empty of drama, hands full of towels. She is a marvel.
I aspire to have Betul's level of unbothered peace. She just puts her head down, makes the beds with hospital corners, does the laundry, steams the napkins, and minds her business. We love her.
She is the employee every super yacht captain dreams of.
Okay, babes, let's take all this chaotic behavior and formalize it. Let's run the yacht chaos meter. Now that we've laid out the crimes, let's judge the criminals. We are grading this crew on their ability to survive the psychological pressure cooker of reality TV yachting.
Let's start with who is unequivocally thriving under pressure.
Daisy. Hands down, no contest. Setting boundaries, refusing to be gaslit by Mike, refusing to coddle Ben's victim complex, and dropping the hammer when necessary. She is thriving.
I completely agree. She didn't let Mike's, we'll see about that, slide for even a microsecond. She immediately escalated determination. Also thriving. Betul, obviously. The ultimate employee. And honestly, the guests.
Oh my gosh, yes, the guests. We barely even talked about them because they were so normal.
A group of physicians who are surprisingly chill and bringing zero drama to the actual charter. They're just sitting on the aft deck, drinking beautifully crafted margaritas, completely oblivious to the fact that the crew is imploding around them.
It's the best kind of guest. They paid their money and they just want to relax. Now, on the flip side, who should absolutely not be on this boat?
Obviously, Mike. Voted off the island. As I said before, I firmly argue he doesn't even want to be a yachty. He wants to be on Watch What Happens Live so badly he can paste it, but he failed the audition by being insufferable instead of entertaining.
Ellie. She should not be on this boat. She is a liability. She is operating purely on spite and romantic rejection. You cannot work in a highly coordinated team environment when your only goal is to destroy the girl that the guy you like is casually talking to. It's dangerous for morale.
And we absolutely have to put Eddie on this list.
Eddie fighting the furniture? We didn't even fully unpack this.
Eddie is literally out on the deck, under the moonlight, throwing a physical tantrum, shadowboxing, and fighting inanimate patio furniture because his love bombing of the next girl isn't working after Jenna dumped him. We saw the text messages. He literally texted Alicia telling her he'd throw over Jenna for her.
I'll dump her for you. And then he tries to act like the chivalrous, broken-hearted, nice guy when Jenna cuts him off. Bro, you spent the entire season trying to hook up with the girl who explicitly has a boyfriend back home. You dogged Alicia behind her back, and now you're having a meltdown because your manipulation tactics are failing. Go home.
It's the classic nice guy syndrome weaponized on a super yacht. So, question for you listening right now. Who is giving you the biggest I need to pack my bags, go home, and immediately enroll in intensive therapy energy this week? Is it Ben and his betrayal complex? Ellie and her projection? Eddie fighting a deck chair? We need to know.
Which perfectly ties back to our Canadian options trader. Let's play money talks. Then disappears. If we handed this exact crew the BC man's $415 million, what would happen? Let's start with who could actually handle millions.
Captain Jason. Obviously. He has the emotional regulation required for immense wealth. He wouldn't panic. He would buy a sensible, stunning coastal property in Australia, invest in a diverse, low-risk portfolio of index funds and real estate, and continue to be a silver fox. He would absolutely not be trading options on margin.
Exactly. And a Betul would take the $415 million, put it in a high-yield savings account, not tell a single soul on earth, and show up for her stew shift the next day anyway. She'd be scrubbing toilets with $500 million in the bank just because she likes the routine.
She would. She would just say, you know, the laundry still needs to be folded. But who would lose it immediately? Who is getting the margin call?
Mike. Mike is the exact demographic to lose $415 million.
Mike would sink it all into a disastrous crypto scam featuring a cartoon ape. Or he'd buy a massive, overpriced nightclub in Miami, alienate all the promoters by calling himself the HOD of the VIP section, and the place would get shut down in 3 weeks for egregious fire code violations.
That is so accurate it physically hurts. For me, it's Ben. I passionately argue that Ben would lose every single cent. He would spend it all on a grand, dramatic, suffocating gesture for a girl who is clearly not that into him. He'd buy a private island for her, she would break up with him because he's too needy, and then he'd be crying on a dock somewhere, screaming that his accountant betrayed him.
My financial advisor is building a unison against me.
Yes, the IRS betrayed me, the SEC is out to get me. And Ellie? Ellie would spend the entire $415 million hiring a fleet of private investigators to ruin Jenna's life. She would buy the Northern Sun yacht just so she could fire Jenna personally and make João jealous. She would end up bankrupt, bitter, and living in a studio apartment, still talking to anyone who will listen about how João is a trash can.
A fool and their money are soon parted, especially when their ego is involved. Which perfectly transitions into the emotional investments happening on this teak decking. Let's talk about Boatman's delusion.
The real flirtations versus the total bad decisions.
Let's start with what actually feels like a real flirtation. Daisy and João.
I am shockingly going to agree with you on this. This feels grounded. Despite João's history, and we all know João's history on Bravo, it is extensive. They're actually communicating like adults. They literally slept in the same bed, didn't hook up, and just snored next to each other. It was oddly wholesome, like an old married couple who are just too tired after work.
It's the most functional dysfunction on the boat. They are both heads of department, they both deeply understand the pressure of the job, and João actually went out of his way to tell Daisy he likes her directly, rather than playing games behind her back. It's mature communication. But then we look in the pure bad decision energy.
Ben and Jenna.
As one incredibly astute Reddit user pointed out, Jenna has a type, and that type is delusional and damaged. Ben is needy. He is clearly rebounding from a broken engagement, and he is entirely mistaking physical proximity in a galley for a soulmate-level cosmic connection.
He's trauma bonding with her over his perceived betrayals. He's using her as an emotional crutch. And then you have Ellie and João, or rather Ellie and João in Ellie's head, because it is a completely one-sided obsession that is actively destroying the entire interior department's workflow.
Let me give you an analogy to tie this whole analysis together. A boatmance with Ben, or Ellie's obsession with João, is exactly like taking out a margin loan on your emotions. The highs are dizzying, you're making out, you feel validated, you feel like an emotional millionaire, but eventually, reality sets in and the market corrects. You will go bankrupt emotionally, and when the inevitable crash happens, they will blame you for the deficit.
Oh my God, put that on a t-shirt right now. A margin loan on your emotions. That is exactly what it is. You are borrowing happiness you cannot afford based on collateral that doesn't actually exist.
It's unsustainable emotional leverage.
Babes, I am unwell. I am unwell from the accuracy. Which brings us to the ultimate question. Be honest with me. Would you survive this charter? It's really easy for us to sit behind these microphones, drinking our peach bellinis, judging these people, but let's put ourselves on the actual boat. Could you handle these guests, this chaotic crew, this level of stress?
I'll let you go first.
I would shatter. I would absolutely fundamentally shatter into a million pieces under the pressure. I would be a walking liability. If Ellie walked up to me and grabbed a shrimp out of my hand while I was trying to plate a five-star dinner, I would throw myself overboard. I wouldn't even yell at her. I would just walk to the edge of the teak, salute Captain Jason, and jump directly into the Caribbean Sea. I'd spend the rest of the charter crying in the laundry room with Betel, folding towels, and questioning my life choices.
You'd be hiding in the dryer.
I would. I would climb inside. What about you? Could you handle it?
I like to tell myself that I would thrive on the drama. I would be taking meticulous mental notes of everyone's psychological failings, but realistically. I would be fired by Captain Jason within 48 hours for gross insubordination. Specifically, the very second Mike walked up to me with HOD written on his forehead in Sharpie, I would verbally destroy his ego so completely, with such precision, that HR would have to airlift me off the vessel. I cannot handle incompetent arrogance. I would snap.
You would make him cry, and then Jason would have to fire you for creating a hostile work environment.
Exactly. I would be a liability for different reasons. So the consensus is crystal clear.
We are meant to be guests. We are not crew. We are not built for maritime labor. We demand to be the chill physicians sitting on the aft deck, drinking out of nice glassware, watching the staff implode for a very safe distance.
Paying hundreds of thousands of dollars for the exclusive privilege of watching psychological warfare unfold in real time.
Babes, our bellinis are empty, the Jamaican patties are gone, and my blood pressure is completely spiked. We have truly been through it today.
We have. From the BC Supreme Court to the waters of Canoan, it has been a journey of epic financial and emotional loss. It makes you wonder, if a $415 million margin call and a petty mutiny on a super yacht are driven by the exact same psychological blind spot, where in your own life are you ignoring the warning signs just because the momentum feels good?
Oh, that is a question that will keep me up tonight. Thank you to the Snark Squad for hanging out and spiraling with us. If you loved this, if you felt your heart race with us over margin calls and missing shrimp, send this to your messiest friend. Leave us a rating, leave us a review, and please drop your favorite food truck order in the comments. We need to settle the Korean corn dog debate.
I need validation on the structural integrity of food on a stick.
Babes, we started this night talking about a man losing $400 million and somehow ended up dissecting a chaotic yacht mutiny over shrimp, as we do.
It is the only way we know how to process the world.
Stay rich in delusion, stay afloat, and we will see you on the snark side.